कम होती है और कई बार वे दुश्मनों के लिए इजी टारगेट हो जाते हैं। प्रचंड शक्ति, प्रचंड वेग और प्रचंड प्रहार की क्षमता वाले इस LCH का इंडक्शन हमारी एयरफोर्स की कैपेबिलिटीज में बढ़ोतरी के साथ साथ रक्षा उत्पादन क्षेत्र में आत्मनिर्भरता की ओर भी यह एक बड़ा कदम है। अमृतकाल की प्रारंभिक वेला में इस पराक्रमी LCH का इंडक्शन देश की आजादी के शताब्दी वर्ष तक इंडियन एयरफोर्स को दुनिया की सर्वश्रेष्ठ एयरफोर्स बनाने में आपके संकल्प को दर्शाता है। साथ ही यह शताब्दी वर्ष तक रक्षा उत्पादन क्षेत्र को पूर्ण आत्मनिर्भर बनाने के आपके संकल्प को भी दिखाता है।
Today marks the beginning of a new chapter in the history of the Indian Air Force as we formally induct the formidable indigenous light combat helicopter into our arsenal. Presently, we have one of the most versatile, potent and operationally tested fleets in the world. 143 helicopter unit has the proud privilege of being the first LCH equipped unit in the armed forces. The personnel of the unit have been specially selected based on their professional competence so as to operationalize the unit at the earliest and to exploit the helicopter to its full potential.
Prachand Power is now a reality. Let's get a detailed look at the capabilities of LCH Prachand, the mean machine made in India and made for Bharat.
Well, absolutely, Pranesh. Prachand is going to be powering India's forces. But what does it really mean? Let's get you a quick lowdown of its firepower. Now, its weight, that's going to be very critical. It's merely 6 tons with twin engines. Because this is a light helicopter, it can then also easily fly on to really high altitudes, which is possibly not possible with the heavier choppers. Also, its speed, the maximum speed is 290 kilometers per hour. Other graphical representation that we are getting for you of what the Prachand is all about, as you can see, it can take off and land at mountain heights, and this is very significant because at high altitudes it's often, even the MIs have found it very hard to land in high altitude. This is one of the problems that can be overcome with this LCH. Also, the speciality is that it can be flying, and look at the firepower which is coming in. 2 pedestals with 12 rockets each. Of course, this is a combat aircraft. There are different kinds of choppers which are availability. You can have those which are used for utility, those which are used for surveillance, for carrying, but this is a combat chopper, which is why the firepower, each of the rockets measure about 70 mm. This is how it is going to be powering our forces and going to give immense strength to the ground support as well that it is going to give. The gun power, 20 mm turret gun is mounted on its nose there, that you can see. You can see how small, light this entire aircraft is, and it is going to be something, a desi dum as it is being called, for the global dominance. Also, the gun power, the gun can rotate at 110 degrees. Well, of course, the experts have been explaining to us that it's going to be really helping the ground forces in any kind of combat operation. Also, it is capable of firing about 800 rounds per minute. 800 rounds per minute. Not just that, several other specifications. It's made to kill. The laser range finder and the target designator is also something which is very significant when it comes to combat facilities. Of course, there's capability of high altitude warfare, as we were explaining to our viewers earlier. Also, high altitude warfare was the need of the hour during the Kargil war, which is why 22 years later today, this all-weather chopper has been indigenously built and created in India. It is, of course, armored. It has night attack capabilities as well. This is a killing machine, and there is no two ways about it. It's difficult for the enemy radars also to spot this LCH, and of course it comes with several other facilities such as forward infrared sighting systems as well, which are all inbound to all of that. So during the Kargil war, the need was seen to have a light chopper which could be sent across, Pranesh, to the higher altitudes, which is why this 22 years later really literally is a dream come true.
Thank you, Meghna, for that lowdown. Let's open this up. Group Captain retired Anupam Banerjee joining us, ex-spokesperson of the Indian Air Force. Air Vice Marshal retired Manmohan Bahadur also with us, ex-ADG, Centre for Air Power Studies. Group Captain Anupam Banerjee, let me begin by asking you, how do we keep pace and scale up the indigenization program that has given us the Prachand Power today?
Good evening. It's really a red letter day for the Indian aviation. Having taken part in the Kargil conflict, I still remember how badly we missed attack helicopter which could fly at those altitudes. And you will remember that Indian Air Force had to use Mi-17s, which were not really meant fully for this kind of a role. And the helicopter that we had on those days could not fly at those high altitude. With LCH, we now have the capability, and with our main threat in the mountainous region, both with the northern neighbor and with the western neighbor, and the flashpoints being in the high terrain, induction of this aircraft gives a huge boost. And most importantly, it is indigenous. And in days to come, based on the main thing, improvements can be done because it is ours. And as time progresses, more and more indigenization can be factored in. So I think it's a great start.
Okay, now Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur, people are also comparing this to Dhruv, sir. What is the difference, if you could explain it to our viewers?
I couldn't get that clear.
Prachand and Dhruv.
Two different things. Absolutely apples and oranges. The only common factor, which is a very important part of that, is the transmission system. That means the rotors, the engines, the tail rotor, the gearbox. That is the same between the Dhruv and the LCH. So it has all the power of a Dhruv, but is much lighter because its fuselage is streamlined. It does not carry any payload, no passengers whatsoever. It only carries armament. So they are aircraft meant for absolutely different roles. That's the major difference. But as I said, like the ALH Dhruv, since the rotors and the engines are the same, the performance-wise is generally the same with respect to the altitude and the load-carrying capability becoming a little more.
Now, Group Captain Banerjee, how does this LCH Prachand measure up to other copters in its category class?
Yeah, it has got on paper most of the capabilities that an helicopter of this type should have. And it will be very interesting to see, because Indian Air Force, I think, will be in the best position to really compare, because we will be one of the very few forces which will now be operating a Russian attack helicopter, an American attack helicopter, and an indigenously built attack helicopter. And how all these get integrated into our entire war-fighting system will be very interesting to watch. And I'm sure Indian Air Force has already done this in the past, having integrated aircraft from various manufacturers, and now integrating our own aircraft. I think LCH will immediately is a very good aircraft, and in days to come, the scope for improvement is very, very high. It is not today what was rolled out has tremendous scope of improvement in terms of system and other thing. And being our own indigenous platform, we can always do experimentation with it and keep improving firepower and other things to it.
Now, Air Vice Marshal Bahadur, do our adversaries, sir, by which I mean Pakistan and China, use the choppers like Prachand? Does China, for instance, use LCH in high altitudes?
China has a different set of aircraft, as can be expected. And they have aircraft which are flying in those conditions at those certain altitudes. They have carried out trials in Tibet. The payload, etc., of course, is not known to us as such, and neither is their performance capability, because that is such an opaque society. An opaque manufacturing system. But they do have the WZ class of helicopters which do operate. However, they are slightly heavier and not made for the high altitudes that the LCH is specifically designed for.
Right.
I mean, we had a task which was given to HAL, that we want them to operate in altitudes above 15,000 feet. Which was not the task actually which the Chinese have.
Right, thank you, gentlemen. Group Captain Anupam Banerjee, Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur, thank you for joining us on Times Now. Prachand powers India, that's our hashtag on Times Now. You viewers, use that to engage with us. Taking a short break, lots more lined up on Times Now. Please stay with us.